Joining us is my good friend Sunil Sunder Raj from Jersey Sporting News. He's here to talk about the high school action from this weekend. Sunil, how are you?
I'm doing great. Again, always great to be back on. There with you here on Sports New Jersey, Mike.
Yeah, we're always happy to have you. So let's get into the games here. It was a nasty day in
Yeah,
New Jersey on Sunday with some brisk
yeah.
temperatures and plenty of rain. Did the weather put a damper on the first set of state championship games?
I think the first game was the weather, said cooperated, but for the second and third games, it was absolutely miserable. Said pouring rain, just damp, raw conditions. The wind kicking up. Definitely made said for an unpleasant experience, and I'm sure again for the players and coaches on the field, a slick football to contend with. So yeah, definitely not again ideal weather said for these high school state football championship games, Mike.
Yeah, well, between the three games, we saw a couple of early defensive battles, and one game ended up being a
Mhm.
blowout. How much of a factor do you think the weather played in those games?
To a certain extent, but again, I think it comes down to executing the plays, and again, I think as you saw in all three games, especially just dominating offenses, defenses. I think in that first game, I think it was a close game, and then Mountain Lakes pulled away in the fourth quarter. But those two other games, is said the Group Four and the Group Three, again. Mayland and Delsey were just on spot. I mean, those teams were stacked, and you could see they had the talent, and they were just able to said again overpower their opponents.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Mainland. They played Ramapo. They
Hmm.
both entered the state finals undefeated. But looking at the result,
Yeah.
it would seem like Mainland was just on a different level on Sunday. Did you expect to see that outcome, or were you surprised that Mainland was so dominant from the start?
I was surprised. I thought it would be, a lot closer, than the score was, that ended up being. But again, from what I could see, mainland. I mean, every time Rampo would, move into mainland, said, territory, they were just stifled. I mean, mainland's defense just, again, stacked the box. I mean, put the pressure on Landon DePrima. Uh, and then, said on the flip side, they were able to score at will, and 42 nothing at halftime, and, it said 56 nothing the final score. So, I would say definitely a surprise. But again, with the Central and South Jersey schools, again, I said there are a lot of solid teams, coming out of that part of the state.
Yeah, and West Essex Delsey, the first half was low scoring and seemed to be really a
Mhm.
defensive game. But in the second half, how
Yeah.
big of a momentum swing was the 32-yard touchdown run by Wayne Adair for Delsey?
Oh, huge momentum swinger. I mean, I said almost a 4 minute drive and just pounding ground. That's all they did all game long. And, I said between Wayne and Dan Russo, I mean, they just, again, two players over 100 yards. And, I said again, with just a massive offensive line and just running behind that. And they were just, again, able to churn out yards on the ground. And I said, again, that was huge. I said to, go up 14-3 at that point, and then again they added another touchdown there in the third quarter as well.
Well, Delsey, like you said, used a ground attack to grind it out, rushing for
Mhm.
347 yards. And as you said specifically, two players over 100 yards. From your viewpoint,
Mhm.
is that exactly what killed West Essex this game?
Yeah, that was the blueprint I think Delsey had going into the game. I mean, I hardly threw the ball in this game. Again, the conditions affected that, but I think that's what their bread and butter was, and it worked to perfection, and they were again I think West Essex. I mean, they did their best, but just again size mattered, and speed and strength, and again Delsey was able to match up there.
And of the three games on Sunday, which outcome would you say was the most surprising, and which one was maybe more of an expected outcome?
I think that third game, again, Delsey had, we had talked about before. Delsey, I said was dominant in terms of their defense. I think they only yielded 38 points in their last six games. So I mean, you could see that defensively, they were just outstanding. Said the second half of the season. So I would say that was definitely the game. I think right there that may have been expected. With Delsey to come out on top. And last year I think they lost in the state championship game. So I think this was it was redemption for them. Sid, to win it this year.
And I'm really looking forward to this next answer. You've covered so many state championship games in many sports. From your viewpoint, how special are these games to these young kids? Because for some of them, it's their last game or last time even stepping out onto a field.
Yeah, and even the first time. So I think to play at SHI Stadium, a college, stadium, football stadium, or at MetLife, NFL stadium where the Giants and Jets play, just electric. I mean, the vibes. I mean, before we came on there, I was saying that at SHI Stadium, they are flipping the lights on and off, and had the different color variations. And when they're coming out of the locker room, they have the smoke, they have the music pumping. I mean, that really amps the players up, and to play on a field that they might end up playing one day down the road. I think is a bucket list item for them. It's memorable, and they'll cherish that forever. So I think for these players, it's not opportunity to pass up. I mean, to take full advantage of it, embrace it. The moment you're in the locker rooms of, I said the players of Rutgers, and then of course the Giants and Jets. I mean, that's just. I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, I don't think it gets any better than that, Mike.
Sunil Sunder Raj, Jersey Sporting News. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Mike.
Head over to ONNJ.com for the latest news and sports anytime.